Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotadashata Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotadashata Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sukho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, titled The Creative Impetus, Chapter 7, text 11. For some reason, the bookmark was just not in the right place. Okay. We're in 11. And I guess this is prose, huh? Again? Tasmin bhava kilasa ekala pula ashramo pavane Vivida kusama kisalaya tulasikam bubi kandamula palopaharayascha samihamano bhagavata aradanam vivikta uparata vishaya bilasha upabrito pashama param nirvitam avapa. So everybody could please repeat after me. Tasmin, in that ashram, Vabakila, Indeed, Saha Bharat Maharaj, Ekalaha, alone only, Pulaha Ashrama Upavane, in the garden situated in Pulaha Ashram, Pavida Kusama Kishala Tulasika Ambu Bihi, with varieties of flowers, twigs and tulsi leaves, as well as with water. Kanda Mula Pala Upaharai, by offering of roots, bulbs, and fruits. Cha and Samihamanaha, performing Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aradnam, worshipping. Viviktaha, purified. Uparata, being freed from. Vishaya Abhilashaha, desire for material sense enjoyment. Upabrita, increased. Okay, a few more words. Upashamaha, tranquility. Param, transcendental. Nivrittim, satisfaction. Avapa, he obtained. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the gardens of Pulaha Ashram, Maharaj Bharat lived alone and collected a variety of flowers, twigs, and tulsi leaves. He also collected the water of the Gandaki River, as well as various roots, fruits, and bulbs. Anybody ever try to have some bulbs for breakfast lately? Bulbs, yeah. No. Other types of bulbs. I don't know what would be in the roots. Roots, fruits, and bulbs. Okay. With these, he offered food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and worshiping him, he remained satisfied. In this way, his heart was completely uncontaminated, and he did not have the least desire for material enjoyment. All material desires vanished. In this steady position, he felt full satisfaction and was situated in devotional service. Purport. Everyone is searching after peace of mind. This is obtainable only when one is completely freed from the desire for material sense gratification and is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhakta Priyachati. Worship of the Lord is not at all expensive. One can offer the Lord a leaf, a flower, a little fruit, and some water. The Supreme Lord accepts these offerings when they are offered with love and devotion. In this way, one can become freed from all material desire, freed from material desires. As long as one maintains material desires, he cannot be happy. As soon as one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, his mind is purified of all material desires. Then one becomes fully satisfied. Savai pum sot paro dharmo yato bhaktir huk sajay ahoitiki patiyataya yatna suprasidati vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojataha janatyashu vairagyam jnanam cha yadahoitikam. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. This is from the Bhagavatam 1, 2, 6, and 7. These are the instructions given in Srimad Bhagavatam, the supreme Vedic literature. One may not be able to go to Pulaha Ashram, but wherever one can happily render devotional service to the Lord by adopting the process mentioned above. Omikyanativarandasya Gananjana Shlakya Chakshu Vanmaditamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langa Tegarim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitarinam Vancha Kaupadrivasha Kripasandivevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So once Srila Prabhupada, someone was telling him that there's so much opulence in America, which from some point of view, someone may, yeah, that's true from one point of view. But in this particular case, and Prabhupada would recognize that, the opulence of America. But in this particular case, he said, oh, what is this opulence? He said, they don't even have the opulence of one moment's peace of mind. Now, of course, this was 40, 50 years ago, whenever Srila Prabhupada said it exactly. And the amount of peace people had at that particular time, of course, analyzing it from that point in time and then now, it's gotten worse. Of course, it's not funny. You should laugh or cry, but mostly cry. But it's it's not gotten better. But Srila Prabhupada, but it's interesting because although that's something that people want, like here, Prabhupada's first statement in the purport, everyone is searching after peace of mind. No one wants a disturbed mind. No, because disturbed mind means anxiety, frustration, unhappiness. No one wants that. So everybody wants a peace of mind. But it's interesting because although they want it, they're not getting it. Nor do they know how to get it. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridim sarvabhutanam gatvam shantam richati, that Srila Prabhupada coined this as the peace formula. So to realize that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the proprietor, the friend of all living entities, then one can attain peace, right, from the pangs of material existence or misery. So the problem is people aren't understanding or accepting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Enjoyer, the Supreme Friend, the Proprietor. They're trying to be the Supreme Enjoyer. They're trying to be the Supreme Friend, welfare work. They're trying to be the Supreme Friend. They're trying to be the proprietor of things, right? And therefore they can't have any peace. They can't have any peace. Because they're trying to be something that it's impossible to like if you want to get a PhD, okay, that may be possible. That may be possible. That may be in your means. Maybe not, but maybe. That may be in your reach, but it may not be in your reach. Or if you want to become a great kirtan leader, that may be in your reach, may not. But there's certain things that are just not in our reach, absolutely, just absolutely impossible. It's possible to get a PhD to be a good kirtan leader, right? Be a famous kirtan leader. I don't know if anybody should want that because, wanting fame is not good, but to be the supreme enjoyer, to be the supreme friend, to be the supreme proprietor, it's just not possible. It's just not possible. So everybody practically, they're striving for that, but they're striving for something that's impossible. So therefore you could say it's illogical, it makes no sense, and although they keep on going that way. And then they're wondering why they don't have peace of mind. Why? Because they're following a formula that's impossible to attain. They think this is the formula for happiness. I just have to be the proprietor. I have to own things, and they have to be mine, and I have to be the supreme independent enjoyer. To HELL with God, right? And I have to be the supreme friend, right? Kick God out of the picture. Right? I'm the friend. I'm the one with. I'm the one setting up the charity trust and helping so many people suffering all over the world, right? Just see how great a friend I am to everybody. But they can't take that position. It's already taken. But if they just follow it, that they accept, okay, Krishna's the supreme friend, the supreme proprietor, the enjoyer, and they become a servant of Krishna, realize they're a servant of Krishna, then they'll be happy, they'll be peaceful. And therefore the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakala Shanti Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Iteva Shanta, that the Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kamis, those who are desirous of Bhukti, material enjoyment, Mukti, liberation, and what else? Siddhi. That's so many people searching for that. Maybe in India. Maybe somewhere in America, but I don't think it's a big thing. People aren't after mystic perfections, but a lot of them are in India, right? But whether mystic perfections, material enjoyment, or liberation, freedom from suffering, these people who want these things, they can't be peaceful. But who could be peaceful? Krishna Bhakta, Nishkama. The Krishna devotee, because they don't have any desires, means they don't have any material desires. They have lots of desires to serve Krishna, to do this for Krishna, to do that for Krishna. Depending on their particular service, they want to distribute, like our Mahotsaha, right? What's his name? Mahotsaha. Is Mahaprabhu, is it? Mahotsaha, yeah. I know one Mahotsaha, Mahaprabhu. Anyways, Mahotsaha, this book distributor, right? His desire is he wants to distribute how many books? 900 in a day. In a day. That's his desire, right?
Not every day, just do that at least once.
Yeah, do that at least once to beat the world record. Which he's got up to what, 700 in a day? He's done that before, 700. So that's his desire. It's a good desire, right? Or some devotees, they want to, whatever. There's so many, like maybe Giridhar Priya is listening, but I don't know. You there? You don't know who's listening, but Giridhar Priya. I mean, he drives down here, 4 hours from Carpinteria, where Santa Barbara, and he comes here to dress the deities. And it's he has whole plans going on. He's flying flowers in from India, lotuses and all types of different flowers, and thinking of how to decorate the deities nicely, buying jewelry. So it's a whole meditation. So whatever the services devotees have means they have desires, right? Spiritual desires to please Krishna and the devotees. And therefore they're happy, therefore they're peaceful. So Srila Prabhupada also brings up that we don't have to be rich to serve Krishna, luckily. Actually, Krishna's not interested in any material thing, right? Because devotion outweighs material disqualifications, which I brought up before. But, for example, Krishna, when he went to when he went to free all of these princesses, right? How many were there? 16,000? How many were captured by, what was the demon's name? Narakasura. Yeah, Narakasura. 16,000 were there captured? Yeah, 16,000. It's a lot. So Krishna went to free them because they're devotees and they're praying, and so Krishna came there and freed them. Now, in previous Vedic culture, which is practically extinct, but in previous culture, there's remnants of it, but for a woman to want to get married and want to have children, that's extremely important for them, like extremely important. Almost to the point that they rather die than not get married and have children. Nowadays, it's kind of, you choose, right? But hey, Tapas, do you think you could close the door that separates the... please. So they were... So they were very attached to wanting to get married. It's hard for us to even comprehend how much they actually wanted to get married. So anyways, but the problem was that according to culture, that no one would marry them at this point. Why? Because they stayed over at another man's house. And at that point, no man wants anything to do with them. That's the culture. Nowadays, people, they have a billion, well, that's exaggeration, but they have a lot of girlfriends and boyfriends, means the couples before they get married, which is actually very disturbing to the mind. While that's going on and also while they get married, it's just, anyways, it's completely unnatural and just absolutely bizarre. But anyways, but this was a problem for them. It's a really big problem because they wanted to get married, but they knew that no one was going to marry them because they stayed at another man's house, and that was it. So Krishna, he appeared on the scene, and he freed all of them. And what did he do? He married them. So this, of course, they're pure devotees, but this brings up a very important point that we may have so many material disqualifications, but our devotional mood outweighs that. Just like the queens, materially disqualified, right? But Krishna, he married them. So we don't have to be rich, we don't have to be this, we don't have to be that. We just have to have some devotion. And let's see here. I have some I wanted to share here. It's yeah. So, so devotees, it's a whole process because sometimes devotees get discouraged that I'm here and I'm supposed to be here. It means I'm here, I'm not fully in love with Krishna, I haven't awakened my full love for God, but I'm supposed to be experiencing love of God. So sometimes devotees get discouraged. So, but we shouldn't get overly discouraged because it's a process. So in relation to that, there's this nice description by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he's describing the different stages of bhakti in the Madhurya Kadambini, and he's so I'll just read this here. What can I say? I am unfortunate, for I am the lowest criminal. Though I have received the mercy of my spiritual master, I have not understood its proper value. Instead, I've been wandering everywhere, and in that way I've wasted my life. Keeping a precious jewel tied in the hem of my cloth, I have been searching out a cracked cowrie, a spot of false happiness between the banks of the river of material engagements. Not practicing any anga of bhakti, I have simply manifested lack of energy. So deceitful am I, such is my sense of taste, that I lick up, is the word acrid? Acrid. What's the definition of acrid?
Very acidic.
Yeah, okay. Bitter. Means, acidic, bitter. I am so deceitful am I, such is my sense of taste, that I lick up acrid tasting profane gossip like nectar and remain apathetic to hearing the names, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. So sometimes when, the prajalpa gets going, or nonsense talk gets going, or some gossip gets going, and, what was that? Pour some more nectar in my ears. I want to hear the nectar, What did she say? What did he say? What did they do? Right? That's the whole industry of these People magazine or this magazine or that magazine. It's a bunch of gossip about all the rich and famous movie stars. They broke up and this and that. And so this is what he's saying. I'm so attached, right, to all this nonsense, gossip talk. But I remain apathetic to hearing the names of Krishna, right? The names of Krishna, all right, well, it's kind of like Rupa Goswami says that if I had millions of tongues and ears, then I could relish the nectar of the holy names, right? So in other words, he's saying it's not enough. I need to hear more of the nectar, right? Krishna's names. Whereas sometimes the experience may be we're trying to get the holy name, and it's hard, focus, right? But Rupa Goswami is just automatically attracted. So that's what he's saying here. How unfortunate I am, when I start to hear about the Lord, I comfortably fall asleep. And at any opportunity for vulgar discussion, I prick up my ears and become wide awake. In this way I've contaminated the assembly of devotees and everything else. Old and bent as I am, what sinful act have I not performed simply for the satisfaction of my insatiable belly? I do not know what type of hell I will have to suffer in for all my activities. So then, in this way, feeling despair, feeling disgust, right, of the previous state of consciousness, then Vishwanath Chakravarti describes some transformation happening. He says, then the devotee in a remote place, like a swan, begins to taste and reverently speak nectarian Krishna Katha. The juice from the fruit of the desire tree, the great Upanishad, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which teaches the mystic science of Bhakti. He talks constantly with the devotees, excluding any topic not related to Krishna. First, like a curious spectator. Right, like a curious spectator. Then, standing closer. Then, sitting. And finally, entering into the discussion with full attention. He also takes refuge in the Lord's dham and fixes himself purely in the Lord's service. Ignorant people think he has gone mad. The blissful devotional service performed by the expert devotees is like a dance, and the devotee begins to learn the steps of that dance. Then, his hands being caught by the dance instructress, Ruchi, means taste for Krishna, he learns everything, experiencing an extraordinary, unprecedented, unimaginable golden bliss that cannot be described. So, we may feel discouraged at times, but we should just continue. And hopefully we could get to the point of the second part of the reading, where we're learning the dance, right? Of learning how to dance in Krishna consciousness, right, and ecstasy. So, I'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Everything you just read was from Mandurya Kandabani, right? Okay. Really nice.
Yeah. You have something? Mani Bani? Oh, okay.
I can reflect on something if I may.
Yeah.
Thank you for a wonderful class. That's such an awesome book. I remember my buddy got that really early on, and it has this great poster in it that shows all those different levels as you're moving up towards love of Godhead. It just felt like such exalted reading. I haven't really cracked into it, so just to hear a little taste of that is very beautiful. So we saw the mood of that devotee. They're living a very sad life, and then slowly beginning to have bhakti yoga kind of open the doors to a higher reality that then, that excerpt at least ends with them receiving taste.
Yeah.
And we know that's just on the path, moving up that. It began as a seed, and then you're moving up the stem, and then you're getting up to the flower itself.
Yeah.
So Ruchi's just midway, and they're calling it an unimaginable, undescribable bliss, just taste.
Yeah.
So we need a higher taste to continue on.
Yes.
And it's such a better reality than the life that they were living before.
Yeah.
We've also been told that the most exalted devotees have that very lowly feeling of humility. And it's so is that how they're describing their previous life before they came to bhakti? It's despicable.
No, it's actually describing after they were practicing Krishna consciousness, because he's making the point, which is a very important point, actually, because it's not that he was describing before he came to Krishna consciousness. He was describing while he was in the assembly of devotees. Like, for example, he's saying that in the association of devotees, when there's some gossip, my ears just prick up and I'm ready for the nectar, right? But then when I start to chant or hear about Krishna, then I'm not very interested. I'm bored, That's what he's saying. And he's saying that I've had keeping a precious jewel tied in the hem of my cloth. Means he has the jewel of the holy name tied in the hem of his cloth, but he's not utilizing that at all, practically. He said that I've searched out a cracked cowrie. What's a cowrie? You want to look it up? C-O. What kind of brahmachari are you? You should have your phone attached to your arm. You should have it sewed on your arm. I'm just joking. C-O-W.
This Prabhu says it's a seashell.
R-I-E. It's a shell. Seashell. Oh, it's a form of money. Just shell. Okay. So he said, I've been searching at a cracked cowrie, cracked shell, means in relation to a jewel is, right? Which he describes as a spot of false happiness between the banks of the river of material engagements. In other words, just sense gratification. I've just been going after sense gratification. Not practicing any anga of bhakti means he hasn't really seriously been practicing any limb of bhakti. I have simply manifested a lack of energy, right? Lethargy. So deceitful I am, and then he's saying, gossip is very interesting, and then chanting, boring, or hearing about Krishna, boring, right? So anyways, that's describing him actually in the association of devotees. Say, I have this valuable jewel, but I'm just focusing on this cracked cowrie, cracked shell. So yeah, it's important, because after coming to Krishna consciousness, we sometimes you see devotees, they look all morose and depressed and frustrated and angry and complaining all the time. It's just like terrible. I mean, it's just terrible to complain all the time. Complaining all the time is just a sign of unhappiness. And unhappiness is a sign of not practicing Krishna consciousness properly. So, I mean, it's one thing to, right, Abraham Lincoln, he said, okay, if you want to criticize, you have to have the heart to help. So it's one thing, constructive uplifting, but just complaining all the time, bitterly, it's not good. So anyways, it's explaining that after coming to Krishna consciousness, we have to be very careful that we actually utilize what we have. Because again, you see devotees sometimes and there's just, they start off and they're kind of bright and happy and positive and jai. Then, fast forward some time and they're kind of like really depressed and, hey Prabhu, Hari Bol. Yeah, Hari Bol, maybe if they say Hari Bol to you, And then, it's unfortunate. So hopefully, the transformation takes place and, But anyways, you're going to say some more?
That really clarifies it. It's like the person's got drafted on the baseball team. They're doing bhakti, but they've sat on the bench for a long time, like waiting for their chance. And then they finally get in the game, and they get that first big hit, and the crowd cheers. That's like finally get a taste after all that practice. So we're already on the team, though. That's good. That I misunderstood. I thought he was living an outside life, and now he's coming to bhakti, and bhakti saves him. But this is a much more prescient point. You can be in Krishna conscious. You can come to bhakti yoga and be lethargic, be distracted, water the weeds, as you would say, not water the root.
Yeah.
And then it just makes ruchi seem so amazing, and that's just the first glimpse of taste. So my question is going up that stem towards the flower of prema. So what are we tasting when we taste ruchi, and then how are those higher levels of bhakti even more blissful than they're describing that being unimaginably blissful? What to speak of bhav and prem and and what are we tasting with ruchi?
Well, what you're tasting is the awakening of our love for Krishna, right? Our attraction to Krishna, which Krishna is the reservoir of pleasure. So, like we've all felt some ecstasy in Krishna consciousness, some pleasure in Krishna consciousness, or else we wouldn't be sitting here. So we all felt some ecstasy in Krishna consciousness before, right? So whatever ecstasy we've felt so far, that's just, you could say, glimpses of higher states of consciousness. Just like I was listening to a lecture by Solanas Giraj Swami, and he was saying that that sometimes if we're doing well in Krishna consciousness, right, we're doing the right things, we're doing well, then we'll get glimpses of higher states of Krishna consciousness, of ecstasy and so on, in connection with Krishna. He says sometimes we may commit some offenses, or we kind of go off a little bit. Then he says we get glimpses of our old consciousness, the old states of lower consciousness. Get glimpses of lower consciousness. So we want to gradually keep on going towards higher, Krishna consciousness. But practically, it's just the reawakening of our attraction to Krishna, which Krishna is a reservoir of pleasure, and therefore, when we have attraction to Krishna, when we have affection for Krishna, love for Krishna, then naturally we feel that pleasure. And actually, that's just that's our nature, right? Satchidananda. Ananda is part of our nature. So we should be happy, and if we're not feeling happy, it's a problem. Actually, it's a big problem. We have to analyze. Okay, why aren't I satisfied? There's different levels of satisfaction. There's emotionally, spiritually. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? You sleep too much, sleep too little, eat too much, eat too little. You have to balance all these things. But aside from all that, just being satisfied in our spiritual practices, right? In our friendships, in Krishna consciousness, it's very important. Because if we're not satisfied, if we're not happy, then first of all, misery loves company. So we're going to try to, just by our association, make others miserable. Or we're going to try to gather up some other miserable people to hang out with. And So, but aside from that, if we're not happy, then we're not really pleasing our spiritual master. Our spiritual master wants us to be happy. Krishna wants us to be happy. And we're not spreading Krishna consciousness properly, right? If we're unhappy. So there's so many things about it that just are not good. So we should analyze, okay, well, why aren't I happy? Okay, well, let me try to make some changes here. Let me try to adjust my attitude. Let me try to adjust my activities. And just aside from being unhappy, it's like that leads one. See, there's unhappiness, right? And then you think, all right, well, what am I doing here? Like if we have thoughts at all, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Maybe I should leave. Maybe I should leave. What am I doing here? Maybe I should leave. Maybe I should leave. If that's going on all the time, and even sometimes, it's like, it means the person's not happy. And eventually, all these, what am I doing here? Why am I here? The desires are building up, and then, they run out the front door, right? All right, Maya, I'm here. Embrace me, right? And then, they're in the whirlpool of material existence. So yeah, we have to be happy to continue in Krishna consciousness. If we're not, it's not that the process doesn't work. Oh, the process doesn't work, right? It's bogus. The problem is that a person hasn't properly applied themselves, because it will work. And actually, if we don't apply ourselves properly, this is offense to the holy name. Why? Because one of the 10 offenses is to what? To consider the glories of the holy name to be imagination. Means all the scriptures say, you'll be in so much ecstasy, you'll be happy, you'll be completely peaceful, completely joyful, right? You'll be fully satisfied by chanting the holy name. This is what the scripture is saying. You'll develop love for Krishna. And someone's like, oh yeah, sure. I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm not feeling the bliss. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing this for 15 years. And I'm quite miserable, actually. My mind is disturbed. I'm not peaceful. I'm not that happy, to be quite honest. And part of the proof of me not being happy is I'm always thinking about leaving, right? So it's not working. Well, no. So in other words, we start to think that the chanting of the holy names in the process of Krishna consciousness, the glories of it is imagination. It's fairy tale. In the material world and material enjoyment and all of that starts looking very real, like really real, like nice, So then we go for that. So, but if we apply ourselves, we will see without a doubt that the glorification of the holy name is true, right? We will obtain peace, we will obtain happiness, we will obtain everything by chanting. So, anyways, okay, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay, Dhanvari, is that you?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Should I let
No,
other people?
you could ask, sure, or you could comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. I have a reflection. His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu shared, which I repeating, not exactly, but in my whatever I understood, that he said a very nice class and very nice topic, Prabhu. I really like it. So he said that we don't want to get too morose. We do get morose on and off and get upset or sad or whatever. That's natural, but not enough that way that we can lose our bhakti. We shouldn't go that much. We have to make sure that we don't go down, that we lose our bhakti and our spiritual practice. We don't have to go that far. Another point, he said that everything comes from if we get anartha or not happiness, if you're not happy or any obstacle comes in our bhakti because we haven't chanted nicely the rounds, the chanting.
Yeah.
And that's what he always shares. So I wanted to just share, and I really like everybody's question in your class.
All right. Thank you.
To apply. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we have to understand and actually be convinced that the mode of ignorance and us engaging in it and the mode of passion, like these qualities are demoniac. You know, lethargy. It's evil. It brings us to hell. Sorry, but it's just bad. You know, lethargy, like lack of energy and lack of enthusiasm and anger and all this other just terrible stuff. It's just bad, and we have to understand that and be convinced. And upon understanding it and being convinced, we got to try to give it up. It's very important, or else, I mean, we practically can't make much advancement without understanding this. Just like Prabhupada said to Kirtanananda, because Kirtanananda was complaining that Srila Prabhupada was saying, oh, there's demons and there's devotees. And then Kirtanananda said, well, I mean, Prabhupada, I mean, they're demons? I mean, come on. I mean, they're souls, and why do we have to say they're demons, right? And Prabhupada said, until you understand this point, you practically can't make progress. You have to understand this point. There's demons and there's devotees. So similarly, it's not that all qualities are just great. Like, oh yeah, I have some lethargy, I have some lack of energy, I have, you know, I got some bad qualities. Yeah, so what? You know, it's okay. We're all good, man. You know, we're all good. But we have to actually understand, no, it's not as bad. And then move towards, you know, transcendence. So, okay, yes, Daniel, last one.
Thank you, Balaram Prabhu. It was actually a really nice class, very inspiring. My question goes back to the topic of you saying that when, like, you're hearing gossip or you're kind of associating with some devotees and they start talking about something, how does one know that when is appropriate to associate with devotees at what time? Meaning, like, okay, so like I'm like eating at the table and then someone starts talking about something, but like I don't want to really hear that, but they start talking about it anyways. Like, how do you distance yourself from that without being, impolite?
Well, maybe you could try to change the topic, or talk about something more positive or more Krishna conscious.
Okay.
Pick up your plate and walk away.
that too, but I want to associate with devotees too, because that helps keep the mind at Krishna conscious as well.
Yeah.
So how do we keep the association with devotees?
Well, the thing is, it's not that everyone that we associate with is necessarily absolute pure devotees. Of course, Prabhupada said one time that how many pure devotees are there, he was asked how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON, and at the time there's about 100 devotees. And then Prabhupada said, oh, there's about 100 devotees, Prabhupada. He said, okay, there's 100 pure devotees, right? So Prabhupada would consider his disciples pure devotees, but of course there's pure devotees by, desiring, we're desiring to become pure, so. But we're also meant to encourage people and set a good example, and it's not that, okay, well, hey, every time I sit down at the table, somebody brings up something that's not so Krishna conscious. All right, so let me just go eat by myself. But then we have to have friends, and then we become like loners, and then we become like, and of course I know some devotees eat by themselves, and especially senior devotees and whatever, but especially amongst junior devotees, it's, it's nice to be in association. But or may become proud or something. So yeah, we're meant to be like a good example, and associate. I was going to say something else, but it's kind of slipped my mind. But anyways.
Can we, if we're on books, can we still have that good association where we can influence the person and not be corrupted in that way as well?
Well, therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that the morning program, an evening program, but it's especially, one's going on book distribution, or going out to preach, it's like we're going on in a battlefield, right? And we got a bunch of bombs in the form of books, but it's so it's intense. There's a lot of Maya there. So, but if we read Srila Prabhupada's books before going out, we chant our rounds, right? We get enough sleep. That's important actually, to get enough sleep before going on books. You're going on a war, right? Just imagine you're going on a war and you didn't get enough sleep. And then you're like, oh, like yawning, and then, they shoot you right there, right? Because so in other words, you have to be very alert. You can't be sleeping out on the battlefield. Yawning, sleeping, feeling tired. You're going to get mowed down. So to be alert, which means enough sleep, and to chant one's rounds, it's to read, right? To not make any offenses before one goes on a book distribution, right? Means towards the devotees, right? Then you'll have a better day. Pray, be in a prayerful mood. So, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say about the talking. So Prabhupada, one time he was speaking with some disciples, and Srila Prabhupada was talking about the nature of Maya and the material world and this and that, right? So then one disciple there, it's kind of strange, but one disciple said to Prabhupada, "Oh, Prabhupada, can we talk about Krishna now?" Kind of like encouraging Prabhupada, like, okay, let's talk about Krishna now. Like, let's not talk about this anymore. Yeah. And Prabhupada said no. He said, we're talking about Maya right now. So to talk about Maya means material nature, how it works, this and that. There's value to it. So a lot of the conversations, so many things could be related to Krishna, actually, one way or the other. Yeah, everything, but within reason. I mean, yeah, there could be some conversations that are just absolutely degrading, but a lot of the conversations devotees have, although they may seem that they're not related directly to Krishna consciousness sometimes, but they can be related, philosophically or different ways. So, all right.
So there is one devotee named Dhiraj. He asked, what role does tolerance play in the midst of all the apparent frustrations? Can you throw some light in that direction?
In the what?
Tolerance.
Oh, in the midst of different frustrations?
Yeah.
All right, well, briefly. We have to be tolerant, as I think, who was given the class the other day? The sign of the greatness of a person is their ability to tolerate. So, but again, we have to be happy in Krishna consciousness, because if we're not happy, we're not going to be able to tolerate anything. That's just a fact, right? So the main thing is to be Krishna conscious, and then from there tolerance comes naturally. So anyways, that's Dheeraj, so he's going to come here later, so we could talk to him more about it. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.